like the theme, nobody planning to leave. Like Live Element ties back into like the Central Park show. So I think I start the song with Central Park show while my cancer was raging, stage 4 on the stage for edutainment. And pretty much it was trying to tell people like we didn't know what was going on. Like it was the best day of our lives in terms of like performing, meeting Al and all that shit. But I was in a lot of pain. I was going through a lot of shit, but I didn't care. But it was also like the last moment of ignorance.
Microphone check, 1 2. What is this? It's the 5'7" assassin in the podcast business. I am your host, Rohan Patra, the rap music plug at your service.
Here we are again at the end of a rainbow.
Likely due to my incessant thirst for control and structure, whenever I take in a piece of art and consider how the creator approached the making of this thing that I find so great, my mind just immediately assumes that there must have been this rigid, almost scientific forethought put into every single little detail. And while some artists certainly do work with more of a structure than others, as you will learn in this freewheeling conversation with ShrapKnel and Controller 7, there is a serendipitous beauty to some people's process, and that is what colors much of the creation of the new album from today's guests, Nobody Planning to Leave. Where a lifetime of artistic dedication, a genuine love for hip-hop culture, and happy coincidence all combine together to make Nobody Planning to Leave one of the most captivating albums of the year, serving as ShrapKnel's most accessible yet creatively challenging record to date. Both this album and this episode are essential listening. The Rap Music Plug podcast presented by QLC TV is the remedy to the I don't have anything good to listen to problem. Through in-depth artist interviews, album reviews, and general rap commentary on the best that the underground rap scene has to offer, this is your one-stop shop to knowing what to add to your queue, play next, or pop into your record player. Welcome to the show.
What's up, Ro?
Yeah.
Rap Music Plug RMPP. Hey, motherfuckers, what's good?
There's your drop. There's your drop
That's
right there.
drop. I've never had a good drop, like a nice little one. So that's how that one.
You got to learn from the radio stations, man. They make you do it 15 times. I've done it before. Oh, can you do a drop for our station? They ask you a million times. You don't do it right. You never kind of do it the right way. Pronounce the word this way. Pronounce it that way. And you get like 15. They don't pick the one you want. They dig some other joint where your voice is all nasal. So this is a drop game, man.
Drop game. I appreciate that. How you guys doing today?
Good.
Complaints. The sun is out.
Hot as hell in New York.
Weather. They turned my gas off. They're doing some work. And using my building lets us know a week ahead when something like that happens.
You get a week advance? I never lived.
Well, or at least over the weekend, if something like that was going down. Mm-hmm. They told us that they're remodeling downstairs, but I guess they found something else. So they dug up the whole front yard, moved cars, and the gas has been off since noon.
My last apartment, they posted a sign on the door the morning that they're about to shut the water off. So if you woke up and didn't leave the apartment and walk out, you wouldn't have known the shower's off. Then you wake up, to take a shower, do your thing, and no water. So
yeah, my apartment in Ottawa did that shit. Yeah. It was not.
Yeah, they're trying to cover their ass because in essence you can put your little rent in escrow.
It's also very anti non-9 to 5ers because I'm like. They shut the water off at like 10 a.m. to like.
They think you're out you're out at work.
Like, well, everyone's already. And I'm like, wait. I don't work.
I'm right here.
4 or 5.
It is. You're right. Prem is always championing for the second and third shifters because they're just as important.
Yeah. Gotta do it. Well, so Nobody Planning to Leave recently dropped. The reception for this thing, I feel like. Actually prior to even the release of it, like that, the RMPP listening party we did was a really good time. People were going fucking bananas.
Yeah, thank you for that.
And I really feel like it's been pretty universal acclaim so far from what I've been seeing. So how has it felt for you? Just the general overall reception so far.
One edit, we have one bad review, and this guy on rating your music, and he typed in, "If I was ever at their show, I would definitely be planning to leave." I thought that. I love that.
So he'd buy a ticket if I was ever like in
right, but he'd be there. But then he'd be like, "The title of this record fills my gut with bile, and I'm planning to leave right now."
Yeah. Yeah. So one unhappy customer
Yes.
out of
It
many.
was up there. I think it's on album of the year. That's where it is.
Okay. Yeah.
But it was up there so fast too. It's like, why
You got to
did
jump.
you listen right away and
Yeah.
write that?
There's always going to be someone like that, I guess. But
I just love
no,
to use the title. I thought it was
yeah, no,
hilarious.
Yeah.
I think it's yeah, the first of all, the Discord listening party was great. It was a great memory.
Yeah.
Because it was like listening to the record in a way for the first time, because all these people are hearing it, and I'm like, I was like dancing, like I was loving it. You know, I had a really good time. I never really experienced something in that way, and we had a really, really, really good turnout with the Bandcamp one, which was cool how they did that. But the Discord one was definitely singular, like experience. People like, you know, you're live, you're there, and all that. So, but yeah, the lead up and now currently, and we're still getting things still are kind of trickling in, and will be presenting themselves, and that's what we want. We don't want it to go away like a month later, you know, trying to catch a fire widespread, you know.
Yep, a long lasting forest brush fire they can't get control of. A mushroom cloud looks good from a distance, but it dissipates, and we don't want that to happen. We want this conversation to keep going.
And you know, like related to the success of this record, it really felt like a team effort, not just the team of you three, but really like a very good portion, very good a kind of sect of this indie rap scene in particular. And I think it was either in the listening party or probably maybe in other interviews you've done about this album since that De La Soul is Dead was like an accidental inspiration with like the random voices littered throughout the record. There's people like Suede is one of the more notable ones on this, Sharif, Alaska, to name a few. And then in addition, obviously you have some like really big name heavyweight features, Mike Eagle, Breeze Bruin, Lungs, Elucid, and Henri. And
But wait, to correct you, Ro, Alaska gets a shout out. His voice is not on the record.
is Zilla on this? Is Zilla's voice?
Zilla.
Okay, because I know exactly the line I'm thinking where I'm like, that probably was Alaska, but okay, it was Zilla. Got it. So yeah, I just want to understand like how rare and special does it feel to be part of this kind of community right now? Because it feels like you guys are like all kind of on a similar wavelength. You're connecting in a way that I think is pretty special in hip hop.
Yeah, it feels great. It feels like there's been a kind of renaissance building for a while, and there's so many little chambers and pockets of it, you know. You could spend weeks on it if you wanted to dig in, and you know, it feels good to be in the mix of that and adding and contributing like in a major way. And yeah, it is like, you know, it's not all kumbaya, but in a way it is too, like with who you decide to work with and align yourself with. And we're careful with that, you know, of who we do work with and within that whole world itself. But yeah, it feels like if you think it's not really happening or you're not paying that like much attention, like you're clearly not really listening if you think something special isn't going on. And so to put like our stamp on it with this record being like our statement of the moment, like definitely feels pretty special.
Yeah, for me, I feel a little removed from things. I live in California, and I'm sure they have much more of a sense of it than I do. But I went out there to Brooklyn to do the show with them, the release party, and I feel like people generally think I don't know, maybe do people think people from California are nice, but in comparison, everyone was so nice in New York, and that show, like the entire night, just felt like everyone was in a good, positive spirit and sort of like really supportive. Just meeting everyone. Like I didn't have one bad interaction the whole night, and it was just kind of interesting because it's not what my daily life is normally like. It was just everything was good about it, and there was no like vibing of anyone like, oh, like, you know, it's like we were all sort of like, community is a good description of it. It just felt like everyone was there for the same reason. So it was cool for me. I would definitely like to be around that more often, but on the other side of the country.
I really appreciated with this album that it really felt like you guys embraced the community in a way that like I said, hadn't even I didn't really have a comparison in mind until the De La Soul is Dead part that even was brought up after the fact. But when I first heard this album, like I've never heard anything like this where it just seems like there's these little moments where homage is being paid and people are given a little kind of like a moment to be a part of this kind of moment, which is the album and everything that it stands for. And it just felt really special. And kind of generally with this album, I just get the impression, how it was marketed, how it sounds, what guys are saying lyrically, the details and all the construction. It really felt like an elevated experience more than even the past already impressive Shrapnel records. There's like these cohesive tie-ins from track to track. Big shout out to you, Seven, on that. And then there's these like underlying themes that feel pretty like cohesive throughout, letting go of like illusions of control, letting go of worry. And so as you began to piece this album together, back when you first started recording it, how did that kind of central vision of what you wanted this album to be, like, how did that come to view and what was that vision that you ended up landing on?
Well, first, I wanted to even just tie into your earlier question. The community is humbling, very humbling to me. Like having a good turnout at a Philadelphia show where I'm located is very unique to my experience. Because I think we were like head down, focused on the work. It wasn't like we went in with an umbrella concept per se, or this record's going to be about this. It was more just, I think the record reflected where we are at our particular points in life at the time, how we take seriously our craft. I think that was like more the focus of the record, like really being honed in on our craft and really crafting and forging really sharp blades, musically and lyrically. And then later on, because I don't think we cut any song, not that I really know of. And I don't think we did like any one of those, oh, we need this type of sound, let's do a couple more like that. Me and Prem, we worked on the record in like 2 phases. And I think we did like 6 to 10 songs in the first phase, and then the last 6 in the second phase. So I think it was just like more head down, focused on the work. And then the themes came about afterwards, because again, it was a happy accident. The tie-ins to De La Soul's Dead, the spirit of Doug throughout the record, not even with like samples and stuff, just how we were writing and paying homage to him, not even knowing he was ill. Like we wrote that without even having knowledge of that stuff. So, it was more like the themes came out of the concrete after we planted the flower, if you will.
That's fascinating. I always find that seems to be the case with these albums that end up feeling so cohesive and so like unified and consistent. It always amazes me that it ends up like it almost never seems to be the case where there's this like clear thought from the get-go and everybody was like marching
Yeah, I
orders. It
think
always feels more natural.
it's just your methodology. You know what I'm saying? Like, for instance, somebody like the Roots, and you could tell how Questlove is like really regimented and writes a lot of lists probably and shit. So they probably have a lot of schematics before they even start. We like to be a little bit more organic, not to compare us to them, but we're just a little more organic and just let our pen and our machinery, in Seven's case, take the lead and see what we come up with. You know what I'm saying? Like me and Prem will have half a verse on a song sitting for a while, but the song don't even have an identity until one day somebody pops up in the middle of the night. Oh, I got a hook. You know what I'm saying? And now the song is starting to breathe life and it starts having wings and legs and arms and shit. But it might take a second at first. It might just spark 8 bars or half a verse or something like that. And then the theme, like some of the stuff we're working on now is untitled, like a lot. Like, so at first I remember I used to get annoyed with the Kendrick record, untitled, unmixed, but I know that feeling. Like you got a lot of stuff that's still, looking for a home or trying to find its own identity. And then that can come later in the process sometimes. Supposed to.
Yeah. And like you're writing, like when we're writing records, like the writing doesn't always reveal itself like initially as like to you. Like, the spirit of it, what you're trying to say, but a lot of times it isn't like fully fleshed out with a very specific theme in mind. And then you take a step back and you listen to, you're like, oh, this song is Worry Doll because of this, and this is why. and I can explain it to Castro, and like then the themes, because I'm like, oh, I didn't even really recognize the theme at first. That's just an example, right? Sometimes it's very straightforward, like Human Form, where it's like, obviously I could call that song anything, but like Human Form makes sense when you hear Human Form. But a lot of these, like I think themes reveal to us as the authors, even, as like a astute listener is going to take time to check it out more than once. And good writing should unravel with time. But I think it happens to us too as creators. And like sometimes we don't even know. And that's kind of the fun part about it. And creating is magic, so.
And there's other things that, like you were saying, they reveal themselves. Like, I think when you guys did Worry Doll, you probably weren't thinking about it being the last song, and the first song, the very first thing on the album, it says, "It worries me." Is that clip of the guy saying, "It worries me." And then the Worry Doll thing is like taking away worries. So like it starts one way and then it ends in another. But I think if we had set out to do that from the get-go, like we're so specific, it wouldn't have worked.
It might not have landed.
I think maybe when we were like 60% or 70% and we were trying to figure out the title, I think when we figured out the title, it kind of lent itself to where we were shaping things. But I think they came together naturally, and it was probably just where we all were. It's them writing and me, but then I'm taking in what they said and I'm putting in little pieces to try to emphasize things. And so yeah, it wasn't from the get-go, but I think like it just presented itself to us. And I don't think it's like we're trying to like tie in stuff super unrelated. Like it just naturally comes across that way because that's how it happened.
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool. You're like describing how like creating is kind of almost like you need to listen as a creator, it seems. Like you create something, but then you like actually listen to what you've put on wax so far and how that ties in with everything else, and then you kind of go from there. That's like interesting. I always think as like a listener, sometimes we mistakenly assume that there's just always this forethought, or we assume that when a creator creates something, it's just kind of like already all the reasoning why they said this and that and made a beat sound like there's always this like initial kind of master plan, and
it depends on your methodology. Like Gangstar, when Guru was alive, rest in peace to the God, he named all of their tracks before they even started. That they were known for that. So the tracks always had titles. They were one of those people who write it up on the board. And so every beat that Premier would cook up, Guru would have a title for it. So he would always have a lead in and then he would write the song. He was very much built that way. But I guess, it depends on methodology. You can go in because sometimes it's the men playing while God laughs, like the best well-laid plans. Like you can go into a project, my solo record, to be transparent. I went in there with this whole idea and I had this whole thing built up of how I was going to do it and the source materials and stuff. And then I started and I just screeched to a halt. It just wasn't working. Whatever I was playing, it was not clicking. And I let some of that go and boom, out come the 8 songs. You know what I'm saying? And so sometimes you have this path, you have this divining rod and you think you're looking for water or whatever the fuck, and it's not working. So you have to try something else because you can't stop the process, so. Sometimes
and I'm not like,
plan. Yeah, good.
I'm not. No. It's like, and not trying to be like, to sound, I don't know what the word would be, but I'm not trying to be hyperbolic or anything like that. But it's like there's this notion or practice of automatic writing, where it's like you're not writing, like the spirits are allowing you to write. It's like under like the umbrella of Ouija and all that sort of thing. But they're not comparing it to that. But in a way, like when you like sit down to create with a specific like frame of reference or idea, like you don't get the same result as when you just let it out. And obviously you want, with this project, we're choosing specific production and we're aligning it with a bigger idea, but I think some of that you just let it go, and that's a more refined writing process where it's like you can trust yourself to like figure it out to fit all the themes. But it's like we're not sitting there creating like, okay, like we have to hit these checkpoints before to make this record. The our De La Soul is dead. All that stuff comes later in the process, and it's not easy to explain it.
And like when I think about the process of creating this record, I think you said this was started in 2021. Is that the first time the first like beat pack was
It's
sent?
like the idea of it. I think I might have sent it like at the very beginning of the year 2022
Okay.
was the first music, but the discussion started, I think, December. So then like January or February, I sent the first stuff.
Yeah. So like between then and now, I know a lot of things have changed. And one of the like a very obviously important thing that's colored the music that we get on this album, but more generally, more importantly, just your lives in general, is the recent obviously diagnosis with you, Castro. And this is something that gets directly touched on one of the songs, Live Element. And I just wonder, like, how did that play a part in kind of influencing the musical ideas or the lyrical ideas explored here, and just the overall dynamic of with you and Prem as a group as you created this record?
Well, like the theme, nobody planning to leave, like Live Element, and ties back into like the Central Park show. So I think I start the song with Central Park show while my cancer was raging, stage 4 on the stage 4 edutainment. And pretty much it was trying to tell people like we didn't know what was going on. Like it was the best day of our lives in terms of like performing, meeting Al and all that shit. But I was in a lot of pain. I was going through a lot of shit, but I didn't care. But it was also like the last moment of ignorance. And we didn't think about it actively, but there was a time me and Prem didn't know we could keep doing this because we didn't know what was going on with me. Like this is like before full diagnosis and treatments and things of that nature. And while Prem is just hoping his friend stays alive, I'm sitting there like, oh man, we got these shows to do and we got an album to finish and shit.
Yeah.
I'm silly. Like I even recorded while I was in the hospital. So like the theme unfurled itself, like Prem was talking about earlier, based on a lot of those things. But sometimes I'm not always writing in the moment. So that's kind of rare for me to write about something that's going on right at the moment. But I feel most alive on stage. Prem knows I was dying, lack of a better term, to get back on stage. Literally, I guess. And so that's why I started that song off like that. But I don't know if yes, I do mention it later on in the record. I have another line about my cancer. So I'm just trying to, be cathartic about it. But I think Prem could speak to that, like what that put in his engine about what was going on. He knew I wasn't going to, stop. And I'm ignorant to that fact, But I don't know what it did fully. I know, I'm a little more inspired than most, value things a little bit more than most, like, than I used to. And that's just natural when things like that happen. But I just know I just want to just keep writing Illa Blade, yo. I don't know if that powered me up to do so, but who could tell?
Yeah, no, that was obviously a lot to hear and learn about in the moment, and it was tough, and yeah, the bigger concerns were like, what are we dealing with here? Like let's get a grasp on this before we start getting, ahead of ourselves one way or the other, right? It can't, if it's real bad, then let's figure out what we're gonna do. If it's like pretty positive, then let's, we put everything on the back burner, we focus on what's going on. But time and energy and work done on his part to get back is commendable, and it I wanted to touch on it because it's been heavy throughout the whole time. It's been heavy on my mind, obviously heavy on my creative process, heavy on the outlook on my immediate future as a duo. And wanted to give that tribute, wanted to peel back the curtain a little bit too, and because we're not always being real straightforward, obviously with our writing. You'd have to parse through a lot, but I think we're trying to kind of make it paint a clear picture for you on that song specifically. But yeah, things worked out the way they did, and it's interesting, the dichotomy of life and triumph. That weekend we do the biggest show of our lives. We're in a trailer.
Shot a video.
Shot a video for Lazy Dog. I recorded
Yep.
Bardo over at Evidence Beat, and I'm like, I have never thought in my life I would achieve this. This is all in one weekend.
This is a hip hop heaven weekend. We were having a great weekend.
And then you get
don't not to parade, but we didn't find my diagnosis didn't come for months later. But that was just
a couple months, but it wasn't that much longer later.
No, I started feeling really sick in October.
Yeah.
And that happened like in August. So yeah, like
and this was August, a couple months later, maybe 3 months later, because we actually had a phone call with Woods the night before.
The show or
no. Before you fell, and then
before I fell? Really?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh man. We talking about shows?
Metal Lung and shows and
shoot, I don't remember that.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. Yeah, I cracked my head open, y'all. Sorry. Like, I don't remember that at all. But yeah.
Yeah. So, because then I was like, what is going on?
It was a bummer. Look, bro, I was calling people from the emergency room, FaceTiming some people because I didn't really want to feel like explaining it. And at this point, I'm in the emergency room, so I don't really still know what's going on. I just broke my hip. And so that was the story we were going. If we had a PR firm, we were telling people that I broke my hip for at least 2 or 3 weeks, at least a month. Yeah, we were telling people I broke my hip. And it was I wasn't trying to scare anybody or shock anybody with shit. I didn't know what's going on. I would look horrible though. You can go with there's an old picture on my Instagram, me, my archives. I had a little band-aid. My girl was mad because she was out coming in from out of town. I had blood dried up on me. I was like, oh, so rough. I remember that.
Well, we were talking on the phone about his back had been bothering him. So,
yes.
Woods was like, before we do these shows, he
almost put me on punishment. He said,
you need to address what's going on with your back. And so I wake up in the morning and I see on IG that he's in the hospital. I'm like, oh, you're already there? And then he's like, no, son, call me. It's different. And I was like, oh, fuck. Like, because in my head, I'm like, well, we had a conversation about the shows, Metal Lung, the plan, and then Wood saying, like, you want to do X, Y, and Z? And we're like, yes. And then he's like, check the back, like get that shit checked out. Because that's, it's a more important.
And breaking my hip was one of the best things that happened to me because it did force me to just get seen and shit like that.
Pretty violent blessing in disguise, I suppose.
I was limping really bad though before that, so it was inevitable to happen. I wasn't doing well before that. So like after the show, that's why that show sticks out a little bit too, because we really couldn't perform after that because when my hip started hurting really bad, things started getting canceled. We couldn't do anything. And then, then my hip cracked. It was really weird. I don't know what happened. I think I bent, like I folded straight over. Anyway, but yeah, that's what happened. And so, yeah, we go from this high to this immediate low and shit. And people are trying to piece together what's happening and calling me. And I got my phone in my chest and, I don't know what's happening. So, yeah, dark times.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just very happy you're still here, honestly. Glad
Me
you didn't
too,
leave.
Bro.
Glad you didn't plan to leave,
No, nobody without that at all.
And I mean, it's just really cool, like even hearing you, Prem, like the way you just talked just now, like the words you used, I found were notable. Like you were like, we need to find a plan, like ourselves. Like it just speaks like to the friendship, like that you guys clearly have. I mean, that goes without saying, but we hear it in the music, and it's just it's a really beautiful thing to see. And I appreciate you guys sharing that. For obvious reasons.
Prem is a stand-up guy. He visited me in every hospital room I was in. So you do the math on that. I changed a lot of rooms, and Prem came to every single room that I was in.
I brought him soup. I brought him soup dumplings once.
Yeah, one time I was feeding for dumplings. They were killing me with the food. They were feeding me all right, but I told Prem, I said, "Yo, man, I need them dumplings, God." He brought them all the way from New York for the kid.
Knew the route.
Appreciate that.
When I was in New York, I got one of my meals was soup dumplings. Gang took me to the place.
The Gango show where you
it was a food truck. He said it was like this one won like the soup dumpling award.
Probably in Queens.
Yeah, it was right off Jackson Heights. Like
that's biased. Then yeah, that's biased. But it's fair. But it's biased.
You got to give Queens.
You got to go where you know. You know what I'm saying?
Jackson Heights would do.
Mm-hmm.
Brooklyn got the dumplings down pat. Brooklyn got the dumplings down pat.
No. It's another podcast in general.
Yeah. So like we talked about right now, like the album really feels indebted to like the hip hop history, hip hop lineage, honoring the lineage, both in the beats and the rhymes. And when we were talking about kind of how you guys were putting this together, I couldn't help but think about all of the work that Controller 7 you put together in terms of tying in all of these ideas into like and honestly just like a flawless kind of flowing album from front to back, especially given all like the beat switches. I just like also just like the b-boy flair this record has, and the drums and the scratches. Like that's a very like kind of golden age type of flavor, but obviously like modern techniques and sound play. It's really cool. Just the overall kind of multiple movements throughout the album. There's so many beat switches, so many different kind of little niches for different artists to like rock out. And then I just kind of want to understand, like, why did you opt to create instrumentals in this such a way where it's like very complex with like often different beats, often different kind of tones within each and every song
Because
potentially?
he's neurodivergent savant. He can't help himself. He don't know what to do.
I mean, in a sense, I think my attention span is a little bit shorter. I've just always been like that. I don't like things to sort of go past their welcome, and I feel like that's kind of how I put the album together. And I was describing it this way before, that I try to set it up so that you're just continuously listening to it and you're not really stopping and thinking about anything different. Like there's nothing where a moment where your mind floats off somewhere else. So it's changing, and it does something to just always keep your attention doing something different. So sometimes that's just like little things are changing. Sometimes it's something is short. If it was long, it might mean that I changed the music. Some of them I gave them the beats with those changes in it, like Live Element and Deep Space 9 million. Like those were like that. Pretty close to how they were. I mean, I changed some things, but and then some others where, we might have decided, oh, we're going to add another person here, and then maybe I switch something, or like on Nutcracker, there were 3 verses, which is kind of long by today's standards. Three
See, look,
verses
it hurts him even talking about it.
3 verses is long. So when it was on the D South part, I switched the music, and it just, I don't think it's like switches where you're like, oh, this random thing now. It moves into the thing because like this is naturally where we're going now. Like, so yeah, it's all of that kind of stuff. I generally don't like anything to overstay its welcome. And it's a tricky balance because some people are really good at minimal and it becomes hypnotic, where
Mm-hmm.
like the less is happening and it actually pulls you in because there's less happening. And there's like a fine line where you add more stuff and it starts pushing you into a different, it's not as hypnotic because enough is changing. So you either kind of balance it minimal or you balance it kind of more uh dynamic, or more is going on. I think I just have always been that way. I like putting a lot of stuff in there. And some of the ones that were harder for me were the ones where the there was either more people on it or it went longer, and the beat itself didn't have as much room for me to change stuff. It was hard for me to go long on some of them, but it's not anything where I'm like specifically like, oh, we need a beat change here. It's like, if it feels that way to me, that's what I do.
Yeah. No, I mean I really just like that there's such a bold, rambunctious energy to much of this record. Like and that's saying something too, because like there's like the first Shrapnel album produced like 90% of it, I think was pretty much 90% was Elucid. Those are some noisy beats. Those are some really in your face, bold beats. And then Metal Lung felt like this like other kind of vibe, like very spacey, definitely a bit more like atmospheric. It's hard to really kind of make a new sounding album like feels very different for Shrapnel, but this does. Like it was really impressive how this felt like something entirely new. And I just kept thinking about this record being like, this is the most high energy Shrapnel record yet.
Mm.
Like,
Yeah.
was there a concerted effort to make this one like really kind of knock in that particular way?
I don't think we had any concerted effort to be like energy, but it just all the Yeah.
It just happened, I think.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
In total, like Castro had said it before, like we didn't cut any songs. I probably gave them like 20 beats total in like the
Yeah, it's
whole
probably
thing,
like
and we
only
have
2 or 3
14
beats we didn't
songs.
use.
And
Yeah.
for like
So
rappers at home, that hit rate is super high.
Yeah, that's a good average. And then we used one beat as an intro to another beat. So yeah. I mean, it was a very high success rate. But that's why I was saying, to let them in, we did have the 2 phases. So we had picked some stuff out of the first batch. And then when we got the second batch, that almost helped us finish some songs from the first batch.
That's 70%.
That's crazy.
It is.
Good fieldable percentage for sure.
It did when we had the listening party and people said like b-boy and dancing, that like Prem said, hearing it for the first time, I'd never thought that.
We did not set out to do any of that. Yeah.
It was like I took it definitely as a compliment. Like I never would have thought of it that way, but also
Secret
made me
House
happy
Against,
that it was like
Mega from Secret House Against, he brought that up too, about the b-boy
like
through lines.
b-boy anthem kind of stuff.
Yeah, and especially like in this kind of niche of the particular rap scene that you guys find yourself in, that kind of like, oh, dancing, b-boy, like that's not honestly that common these days. I think there's a lot more of the hypnotic, a lot more of just like the very just weird, which I obviously love all that stuff too, but this is like scratching an itch.
It's in our DNA because we're very performance driven. And I think that's where you go back to like some of the songs we pick to perform. We will pick some of our slower selections, but we will have something with some energy. You won't have a somber show with us sitting there cross-legged playing guitar. Like, there's gonna be some joints where you just have no choice but to get up or move your shoulders or scream out Brooklyn or something shit. You know what I mean? And so we do pick beats like that. Yeah. So that is curious because I don't think we picked anything to be brighter or faster. Or, you know what I'm saying? Like some of the beat switches are like the beat increases in speed on Metallo, the first song on the record. But that was always the first song on the pack, and that was always going to be Dustin the first song. But we didn't pick that one because, hey, this is faster per se. Like to me, our fastest song, Prim, I don't know, Running Rebel Swordsblade, at least performing wise, that feels like our fastest song. So
yeah, I think so.
Speed was consideration, So we just, we picked what felt right. We were writing what felt good. There's also like Kasha Kunin, an 8-finger piano. Those are like, slower drags in the vein of like Lazy Dog, things of that nature. Sometimes we'll take our time. But yeah, I think the b-boy element is surprising in the same way. Like it reminds me of like how the b-boy element ran through Black Star record, like that stuff. They were a little bit more intentional with some of the songs, but yeah. So that was dope. And I mean, getting the legend D Styles on it. What are you gonna do if you want it? If that makes you backspin on a train platform, go for it.
Yeah, man. Shout out to D Styles. It's a feather in the cap. And then for those who don't know, should definitely do the research.
Yeah. Like I just love the energy, and yeah, this definitely was good live because I remember that first show you did in not first show, but one of the first shows I'm sure you did when you performed Illusions of P in Toronto when you were doing was that the Maps tour? That was the Maps tour that you guys were supporting?
No. Was it Aethiopes?
Oh, actually, no. You know what? That was. I think that was just it. No, that was at the Maps release show when I was in Brooklyn.
There you go.
Yeah, because you guys performed that, and I just remember that beat was like stuck in my head forever because I was like, "How is the bass line like that?"
That was
God.
That was a hell of a beta test track, like to do out in public. People are gravitating heavy. I think I might have done it solo in Toronto when I opened up for Woods.
You did. Yeah.
I did my verse in the hook. Yeah. So,
that was crazy. The energy on sound's crazy. Like Uru metal, fucking Jesus Christ. Like I think the Castro part, that particular beat and your delivery on that, just insane.
I was a little jealous I didn't get that beat at first.
Yeah.
And if any historian, when I started off, what I say, Assassination Day when Jerry worked for RFK, because Jerry Springer used to be on Robert F. Kennedy's staff when he got assassinated. And I thought that was
wow.
Yeah, I thought that was
I definitely didn't know that.
Yeah, that was kind of cool.
I don't know what that
And
means, but I find that just suspicious. Like I don't know why
so,
that
all right,
feels
so
weird.
RFK is was related to JFK, and he got assassinated just like his brother. And
By,
Jerry Springer, the reality
Sirhan,
stars, y'all
Sirhan.
know him. He used to be in politics when he was younger, and at one point he was working on the staff of RFK when he got assassinated. So I just thought, that was kind of clever. Assassination Day tie into the Wu-Tang song, and
Mm.
it was. I was just watching it one day. I was watching something because Jerry Springer passed away, big idol of mine. He passed away like a few years ago or 1 year ago, or whatever. And I was literally watching something on it. That's when I wrote that verse. And I
Drama
was like,
followed
oh,
him.
Hmm.
yeah.
Well, there's a Dead Prez song where he goes, Sirhan, Sirhan, creeping through the curtains with my eye on a Kennedy. So one time, I forget what song it is, but I was back when I was like in high school, living at home, and I was like, Sirhan, Sirhan, rapping to myself, and my dad goes, "Why are you talking about Sirhan, Sirhan?" And he assassinated RFK. Well, what? And I'm like, "Oh yeah, it's a Dead Prez." And he was like, "Who are they?" And I like showed him the song.
What a way to introduce him to Dead Prez.
Why? Why? Yeah.
Why are you talking about Sir and Sir? What's wrong with you? Put that foul
He's like,
name out of your
Sirhan,
mouth.
Sirhan? Yeah.
That's funny.
He was nah. It was more just shock. He's like, "How do you even know who that is?" Like,
Yeah, rap.
hip,
Rap is
yeah,
education.
rap.
It really is. You learn the weirdest facts sometimes. It's
Yeah.
always fun. So as you guys like approach the creation of this third album as a group, you worked with some like incredible producers in the scene for many years, both as solo artists and as a group. Why, amongst all of those producers at your disposal, did Seven feel like the right guy to steward the sound for this latest record? Like, what do you respect about his track record and kind of his sound overall?
I mean, speaking, frankly, I didn't know a whole lot of Tommy's stuff prior to us working together. I learned that I did unknowingly know some, right? But I didn't know a vast majority of the stuff. So it was educational for me. And, at first I wasn't sure because of the unfamiliarity on my end, Castro was way more familiar. And then when I started speaking to people, I realized there was a lot of people in my circle that were way more familiar. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. So for me, it was the, commitment to it, like the general sense of excitement. Producers are often reclusive in their nature of communicating. So sometimes you can't get people to stay focused on one thing. And that's a lot of reasons, they have to fight for placements, for opportunities and all that sort of thing. And I don't hold that against any of them. Rappers, myself included, hijack beats for years and don't use them. It's, it's a messed up game sometimes. So it was the enthusiasm and the direction. And I was like, whoa. And then it was backed by the beats banged and they had incredible attention to details. I knew it was right early because my subconscious or my like innate voice won't let me cross a certain like checkpoint in a project if it doesn't feel right. So early on, I know whether or not I'm going to go on with the project, and that was surpassed pretty quickly for me, at least.
Yeah, I mean, me and Seven were like label mates on our other label, Buenaventura Records, and
Rico.
And I mean, pretty much Seven had step up to the plate. Like he worked on Sedell 3 with us, and he pitched something when I reached back out to ask for like I think me and Prem had planned it. We were in album writing mode, but we really hadn't picked a producer at all. We didn't plan it out. We didn't write it on a board, anything. So we had compromised, but well, let's do an EP to just get, the blood flowing or whatever. And we hit up Seven asking for beats for an EP. Probably gonna use one or two, and mainly because we did so well with Supreme Rock on Sedell Threat. And for people that don't know this, all three of us are vocally on Sedell Threat. On Supreme Rock. Prem does the main verse, and I do the main hook, and Zilla is doing the background. So we're all on. It is a Wrecking Crew song. But he did so well post-production and composing that one. I thought it was, pretty natural to get a newer sound on a ShrapKnel EP before we do our big thing. And the way he presented the suite, the 22-minute section with all the beats were connected at one point with spaces for us to rhyme on, it was pretty interesting. And it lured me in first. I was more gung ho about it than Prem was initially, because I just thought it was an interesting way to pitch the beats. And then as we started working on the stuff, it was more amenable to separate the beats. And then when the beats were separated, that's when the idea started to click. I was like, oh, this sounds like a song here. And I can get this person to feature on this. And everything kind of grew from that. So it was pretty organic. I would say it was organic. I don't think we had any prior notion. I don't know if even Seven had the idea until we asked him to do things. And he said he prefers to do the whole of something. So then the idea turned into him doing a whole EP. And like I said, once we started separating the tracks. So just like, talking, dating, reaching under his skirt, you know what I'm saying? Taking him to the movies and shit. And then, one day one, love is rock. And, we make Nobody Playing in the Lead. And Prem's in the back seat. You don't know what's going on.
What the hell? His face. Where is this going?
But yeah, so it was very organic.
I guess so.
Yeah, Castro asked if I wanted to contribute some beats, and then I just generally, it's kind of what Prem was saying. In general, I don't do the other style. Like, I don't really send beats out to anyone. I don't do beat packs. I would prefer to I like to know what's going to happen to them, because I do a lot of this stuff. Sometimes if I know exactly what I'm making it for, I'll do a lot of the work up front. But other times I might have an idea, and if someone reacts to it, then like when they send me the vocals back, I do a lot of stuff after the fact to really like emphasize things. So I just don't really send out beats, because I don't want somebody just taking like maybe what I consider to be like the demo and then just doing something with it. And then before I know it, it's out on something and I didn't even get a chance to do anything. So in general, I like to just do the whole thing or be really involved in it. So I asked if I could just do the whole thing. And then I took some time, and the thing Castro was talking about is I made like this 22-minute long, here's what I envision the like kind of world to be. I meant it to be individual songs, but I made it one thing. So my intention was that they would listen to the entire thing as opposed to just like skipping through. But Castro said that doesn't matter. They skip however they want anyways.
Jump around. So yeah, we started cutting them up, pretty early in the process.
Yeah. So some of it, like Metallo into Dadaism, is pretty true to how it was on the demo. Like the way they flow into each other, it was all on there in the original demo. Like there were 9 tracks on there, and I think 8 of them are on the final album in different forms.
That sounds about right. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, that tightness of like the songs and the beats kind of connecting is really just like a secret sauce of this record. That it makes sense that that's exactly the genesis of it, is that it literally was initially kind of pieced that way, flowing into.
But but Seven did sequence the record, and he did rearrange it from that original demo. And some things are in different order from how they originally were.
There are some things on there that like even myself, not like hyping myself up, but I didn't think about it, and I didn't notice them all exactly. Like Open Mic is on some song number 2, and then in song number 3, Castro's first line, he says Open Mic, and there's an Open Mic reference to a song on there. So those tie in, and then as that song is ending, he referenced Onyx like shooting up the Source Awards. And then there's a part of the Source Awards being introduced and talking about the like, welcome to the show. And then it goes into Live Element. Like there's a lot of stuff where end of one song sort of introduces the next song. Little things like that where, I was just
literally the beginning of 8 Finger Piano is in the end of Kasha Kunin. Like that.
Yeah, so there's lots of little things sprinkled throughout there to like this thing leads to like introduces this thing, or it ties up the last thing. Yeah, so it was some of it very intentional, some of it like happy accident type stuff. I don't know if even I think it just worked out that the end of Bogdan, then that probably told me, oh, Live Element could go after, because like he's talking about like welcome to the show.
There's also my verse on Steel Pan's Labyrinth references Millie pulled a pistol on Santa.
Mm-hmm.
That was intentional. That was intentional. Yeah,
okay.
Ironically, both you and Breeze say Biz is going off.
Yes, I know. I know.
Oh,
and I did two different Biz references to it. So there's a nod when you say it, they both get a little Biz sample in there, but they're different ones.
And then the Berman reference on that's on Nutcracker, right?
Yeah.
I make a Berman inference, and so does Prem. And we didn't know we did that. No. At all. Like we didn't do it intentionally.
That's actually that made it to Reddit. Made it to David Berman subreddit.
Nice.
If you're not familiar, he was in a band Silver Jews and Purple Mountains, and passed away a few years back. Really, really, really great songwriter, exceptional poet. But we referenced him. So someone found it and was like, "There's a group called ShrapKnel referencing David Berman."
Send me that. Find me that. I need to find that.
Yeah, Colin posted on Twitter, but I'll find the original link. But it's kind of funny. It's kind of funny. My younger brother showed me David Berman, so I was like,
smoking Purple Mountains, obsessing like Berman. And I had just learned about Berman. I was reading up on him, and that's why I put that line in there. I was just reading up on him. I wasn't super familiar with his work. And then Prem, the Bathroom Stalls bar.
Yeah, and also we got at least 2 lives to give tonight.
Yep. But we did not know that. I don't even know we even shared.
I didn't know he knew who he was.
I didn't know. I didn't know he was. You know what I'm saying? I really learned about him maybe a week or two before I sat down to write that one. And so I thought that was pretty cool. You know, Purple. You know, I smoke Purple. You know. Yeah. And I was really fascinated with when they were talking about how he was obsessing over stuff and keep writing and editing and keep writing. And I've been in that mode, like being obsessed with the perfection of things. So I thought it would be a perfect way to kick the verse.
Yeah, he was a special songwriter, no doubt.
Oh, wait. Bogdan, it's a Mr. Jamal sample, and he passed away last year. And we didn't know that when you made the beat. Remember?
Is that true?
Oh, you're revealing some secrets here.
I just said Mr. J. There's a Mr. J sample somewhere in the album, and he passed away last year. So, like, you know, the spirits are flowing through our record.
Yeah,
I think that's definitely true, though. That's part of that like automatic writing thing I was saying. It's like it's gonna regardless of where you land on all of that, themes emerge, strings get pulled.
I mean, even Live Element, the putting in the clip. So he references the Central Park show. So I asked them for a clip from the show. And so I put in the fuck Puff line, and it like came out right at the time. It was so relevant.
Look at the shirt I'm wearing. I know we ain't doing a video, but we sold shirts. Sold shirts on the road.
I know. That was prescient.
Yes.
Yep. So like with this being the 3rd official ShrapKnel record, there's a lot of like, I find like the chemistry really has just continued to improve with each record. With this record, there's even some new wrinkles, like there's solo cuts, Saturday and Human Form on this record. Like how do you feel that chemistry has evolved or transformed throughout the years as ShrapKnel?
Well, we echoed it. And Prep, I want you to go first, but we echoed it. Even if it's a solo track on a ShrapKnel record, it's pretty much still a ShrapKnel record. Like it still reveals itself as such. But Prem, go. Please.
Yeah, no, I agree with that for sure. It's like I'm not gonna write a solo song and put it on a ShrapKnel record, or it's not gonna be like, well, I had this solo song that didn't fit my record, so let's put it on. You know, that'll never happen, just from a creative standpoint. But yeah, we've gotten better at making albums together. We got better at being recording artists together. So naturally, you know, your 3rd season in the NFL, you better be a much better receiver.
That Spreewell jump. We do that Spreewell jump with all NBA 2nd year.
Right, or like a point guard and big man working together for the 3rd year in a row. That they better have that pick and roll down. You know, it's like, so yeah, we better know how to do it when we sit down to do it. But it's different when you want to keep challenging yourself, right? You want to keep getting better and making more interesting songs. So it's like, it's just trust. It's like, trust he's going to do his part. I'm going to do mine. Trust with the themes are going to connect. And it's not just going to be one rapper styling, the other rapper styling. There's nothing in common. Or someone talking about one thing, or they're talking about the other that has no through line whatsoever. And it's like practice. I mean, that's just, we're on like, song like 60 together or something. If you include like the EPs.
And we stopped being polite. Prem almost let me slip through with a line on Metal Lung. It was a Cowabunga line, some Ninja Turtle line. He didn't say anything about it. I recorded it twice, and the second time was a test. I was like, "You gonna let me get away with that?" I had to rewrite a whole section. You know what I'm talking about, yo.
Big Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle fan, so I wasn't really.
I did say Cowabunga, dude. There's a loss. He wasn't, but I had to get rid of it. I said, "No, I'm gonna cross it out for you." He doesn't. He didn't really. He knew he didn't want it in there, so I took it out.
That's funny. I've also been like pretty interesting seeing the reception of this album, because I think it was potentially No God, patron of the show. Shout out to him, also a rapper, very nice guy. He was saying about Shrapknel that like Castro, your flow is like more like in your face and potentially more digestible, but then the references lyrically are almost sometimes more like difficult to understand on first listen, whereas with Prem, your flow is a little different and sometimes you kind of have to like follow along with it. It's just a different style, but the way you write on this record, particularly Human Form is a good example. It's actually maybe a little more easy to understand in some ways, which is something that it's not about if that's correct or not. It's just fascinating because I was like, that's not how I would have initially thought people would perceive your music. But then I'm like, I don't know, this album is like, I understood where they were coming from. And I was just really fascinated to see that you guys are showing different kind of angles to what you guys can do.
Yeah, I think in a way it's our most accessible record. And then in another way, it's our most like creatively challenging. So that's a testament to working, all three of us working together on it, I think, and making something complex sound simple, if that makes sense, in a way. And then you're going to listen again, you're like, oh my God, they did so much on this that it's like, what was that, and that's going to reveal there's nothing slapdash about anything that has been done on this record. So I think that's, we didn't set out to achieve that. We're not like, hey, let's try to make like our most accessible yet also most, like, you never do, never do, except like set out to do that. But I think we did. So
I mean, it's just, and I think we're just comfortable in our choice of language. Like, this is how Shrapknel goes about his business. I write a certain way, Prem writes a certain way. We're gonna be descriptive in a whole nother way. Confidence in those style choices, you know what I mean? When you're still figuring shit out, you're doing a lot of likes and, you're doing a lot of comparisons, way more similes than you want, way more homonyms. And, then you have to just be confident in the style that you're curating. And so as our styles grow and become more refined, Shrapknel can only get better. You know what I mean? It's just natural progression. And we just take it really serious. So I know that's a simple, Prem was talking about the simple and the complex. That's a simplified way of saying it. But we just want to be better. And we're going to keep trying to be better. And we're going to keep trying to challenge ourselves and try to make better projects than the last. And use whatever worked on the prior project to infuse the next project, if you will. And, just keep doing that. Our pens are important. I live for the day when people ask me about a lyric. That's what we do this shit for. And so I don't mind putting little Easter eggs in there. And that's just the way my brain sees things when I have to write a verse. I do apologize to my listeners. I don't know why I'm so referential. I do say that hopefully if I get into the game range of that, pull me back. I don't want to go that far.
Look, Game Range is name dropping specifically. It's not like actual.
Be like JC. No, man, I do. Like, there was one verse in particular. I'm not gonna snitch on myself, but I'm 16 bars in my verses sometimes, and I was like, "There's 14 references. Like, when am I giving people a chance? When I'm gonna just say, yo, how we do that thing, like some regular hip hop shit, you know what I'm saying? To the beat, y'all, or something." But
no, with the game, there's literally like a video that went viral recent, like some point recent, where it's like it's like 5 to 8 minutes long of just like showing that the game has started like like dozens and dozens of freestyles with the same bar, or like he at least includes it the same. There's like a same like
I
something
saw
about
that. Yeah.
two
He
something
says
three
Andre
cast.
Young. He says Andre Young a lot. A
Yeah,
lot.
it was like unbelievable. So you'll never get to that level. That man is special.
He's the referential god. So no, it's just, the language that I'm comfortable expressing and comes across the best way. I can rap, normal sometimes. I think illusions of P. I'm a little straightforward more in there, you know what I'm saying? But no, I enjoy it. I enjoy it, you know what I'm saying? We're just trying to make blades, as simple as put, trying to make blades.
I think
Yeah.
I mean, not super, but I make beats sort of referential too. I mean, I like don't want to tell people what they are, but I mean, sometimes it reminds me of something and I make a nod to it, or I like the feel of something and I try to, it doesn't come out the same, but you like something sort of inspires you and you want to capture sort of that same magic. But then I also do love the reference. Like if they say something and I can put a sound in there, that I love doing that kind of stuff. And so maybe that's what people are reacting. There are lots of references throughout like the whole album, just little hidden ones, more overt ones. But what they were saying, like I knew that they were going to work hard on it. I took this record really serious too. Like I knew it was a cool opportunity and I was happy to be working with them. So I put a lot into it too. I mean, we spent a lot of time on it. There's a lot of back and forth, but not in a difficult way. I think it was just like we'd meet, sort of share where we were at, and then kind of go our separate way and like do our part. But yeah, definitely lots of like they re-recorded a few things. Sometimes it was hard for me because I'd do a bunch of work on stuff and they'd re-record it and it was like 2 bars off, so I'd have to like move everything.
Sorry. Yeah, Prem extended 2 verses. One verse he extended like 8 more bars and it was just going out into space at that point. And then Seven took upon himself, I got to put more music on.
Hey, I'm gonna die on the hill of you write until the writing's done.
Until the writing stops. This guy.
Yeah.
And so
sometimes
he
it's 12. Sometimes it's 12 bars. Sometimes
the verse is already 36. Long. And the verse is already long in his way, not in a bad way.
The writing wasn't done.
And he told me, I got to change something. I got to fix it. I thought he was fixing what he put there. He rapped. The beat slowed down. It stopped. He kept rapping. And he kept rapping. And so you won't find where it's at on the record because Seven doesn't.
I mean, in the end, I don't even remember all the things. They worked out the way they worked out the way they were supposed to be. But yeah, there were definitely times when I may have spent like weeks or something on something, and then I just get an email. Here's the new version, and then it like didn't fit anymore. I had to like go undo a bunch of stuff.
We're a pain in the ass.
Pain. Beauty is pain.
I mean, in all honesty, it was not a painful and then like I think we had it down where like even when we didn't agree, like see exactly, like it wasn't ever like difficult. Like we might have just like talked it out until we got to the same spot. And like sometimes Castro would have like the way you would describe what you wanted, I like didn't totally get it. But then like I think I'd finally figure out, and we'd back and forth and we'd get
I would re-describe.
It would get to what it was.
Re-describe it. Yeah.
Yeah.
No doubt. We found a mutual language that worked well. Yeah.
That's good. Which track on this record was the most interesting or like fun to create, and why?
Interesting and fun. 2 different questions, I guess, right?
Yeah, you can pick which one. You want to go with.
Fun for me was like Deep Space Millie because I was trying to resurrect and replicate a very specific flow. Obviously, you'll know with a little bit of research what I'm trying to do there. And Castro was answering with his own, response to a different homage. So I thought that was fun. Like that was like a fun exercise in writing and rap writing and rapping. And I don't do stuff like that. Like some people will be like, oh, there's a flow from so and so, and like, watch how so and so flipped it. And I'm like, oh, obviously you're gonna work with your influences unknowingly sometimes, but like I've never sat down and tried to like mimic a pattern.
Yeah.
In a way. So that was fun and challenging. Like interesting. 8-finger piano for me. I think I've said it before that it was a tough catch for me.
Yeah.
Like in the recording process, and then when I finally nailed it, like I really nailed it, and that was an interesting approach, like from my perspective, writing and rapping, and some days it's like my favorite song. So it ended up, we ended up nailing it.
Well, when we did Deep Space Nine, I was very proud of Prem because he usually doesn't do that. I tend to do that sometimes. Like I'll mimic a flow here and there, especially more of my solo material. So I was happy when he did that. So I was like, oh, cool. I could do mine. And I remember, but to me, one of the most fun moments was getting back the elusive vocals. So whatever DJ Khaled goes through, and he's like, the J vocals are in. Whatever that moment is, that was the moment I felt when we got back Elusive's verse and all of the goodies held inside.
Yeah.
And I would say the most interesting track was 8-finger piano because of what the inspiration was. It's an elusive line. This piano was played by a suicide jumper with 8 fingers, and a slave ship suicide jumper with 8 fingers, and no, he didn't take a selfie. And I was always fascinated with that line. And when I knew we were getting D Styles involved, this was my turn to pick a scratch. I think we all kind of took turns. And I was like, oh, I want him to scratch this piano stuff. And then I think even Prem might have suggested the other one we scratched was the wood line from Touch and Agree. And so just that was a song with a different methodology. So we had the idea, and I kind of named it 8-finger piano, and we just went to writing. So it's not like super heavy with a bunch of piano references on some corny shit. It's not mad skills. Shout out to him. But so that was dope. That was dope how that came together, and I think also Seven showed the full range of his powers on that track, and then switching it up for the scratching at the end with D Style.
Yeah, I find that whole kind of section of the album to be probably my favorite. Like whatever, like the 3-4 tracks there, it's just like really fucking cool how they all connect.
Wait, bro, my other fun moment was seeing Prem and Dove's face when I gave them the Side Out Tape demo. Because I gotta tell people when we're talking about the record, that song, the plan was for Prem to have a verse and for maybe the hook to come back or something. I think I even wanted us to do something different. But I sent them the hook that y'all hear, and the verse. And so to see Prem's face, so I can only imagine what Seven's face was when he played it. So that one was I had to bring people around for them to get what that song was about and how it could work.
Yeah, fun journey. My oldest friend, who is currently living in Vietnam, he and the first person I ever rapped with. We had our whole journey from like childhood to like, we were like always trading records and everything. So he keeps really up on everything. So he's from Vietnam, was like, yo, best record yet. But then he starts sending thoughts later. And he's like, 8-finger piano, man. I gotta ask, like, are you channeling Fonte a little bit here? And I am. I actually am. A twisted version of Fonte, but little tip of the cap to Fonte. He is one of my favorite rappers. But he does a thing where he goes like comes back to things, and he's always been great at that. So like he was really, he kind of like hit his peak on the minstrel show with it.
Minstrel show, yeah.
He would do like, sometimes I feel like I'm in another world when I try to tell these girls exactly where I stand at. I want a girl when I want a girl, and when I don't want a girl, I want a girl who understands that. So yeah, he would come back to things like that. So so I did that on 8-finger piano, kind of like as an homage, but like way different. You'll never hear what I'm saying on a Little Brother record, but shout out to Fonte and my best homie who correctly diagnosed what I was doing on that one.
That's so cool. Like he does do that. I never like actually like consciously noticed that Fonte does it, and now I'm like very curious to listen back to A Finger Piano because I definitely did not catch that.
You'll catch that scheme. I did my own thing to it though, obviously, but that scheme is on.
That's
he ain't telling me he was doing all that. He ain't said in the last couple of interviews. See how he's just saving shit.
Yeah, I got the exclusive. Let's go.
Surprise.
I've been listening to Foreign Exchange a lot. Like now that you mention it, like a lot.
I think they just dropped some new shit. I think
maybe that's why. But like,
they just dropped something new.
Fonte.
So that's why they popping in our algorithm.
Well, now that Drake's out of here, can we get Fonte?
Can we get Fonte where he's supposed to be? You know what I'm saying? For real, that's a good one, bro. For real, let's campaign. Like one of those. It's, you know what it reminds me of, like the replacement elections when 7, you were around for that when they vacated. That's how Arnold got into office, because they vacated from the guy who was doing something.
Oh,
and all those celebrities were running. Like I think Tita Tenuta or whatever. It was like all these weird celebrities were running for this vacation.
Judy Tenuta.
Judy Tenuta, yeah. Rest in peace, she died too.
It's weird seeing when there's a park by my friend's house, and it has at the park it has a sign and it says something, you know, like funded by Measure or whatever. Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger, and there's just something so bizarre about it. Although in retrospect, he doesn't seem quite as bad as
right.
I totally forgot that was a thing until you just mentioned it.
Oh yeah,
oh, shit.
He was running.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean that's how
he started ridiculous. Like, oh, how could he possibly? And then he seemed like he took it more serious than some people, but it is still bizarre to see that.
Mm-hmm. What like upcoming work? You mentioned a few things. You mentioned like, I think, am I making that up? Like tour dates or something you're trying to make happen? Oh, you mentioned the merch. You mentioned the vinyl. What about projects, tour dates, anything like that as a group or a solo artist that people should know about?
Yeah, I got a couple things that I'm tying up. Castro's working on his solo. Well, he could talk about that, but we're working on projects, ShrapKnel, together too. So there's a lot going on. I have a solo I've been working on for a while. 7 is involved in that as well. Couple memorable beats that are not quite bookends, but might be like the intro and the outro almost, like not like it might be like a Metallo Worry Doll situation. I'm not sure yet. I don't think so exactly, but it's gonna be close. We'll get back to that. So
okay,
yeah, staying super busy. Working on what the next step is for touring and things like that. But we'll have news for you. So
we got a show next week. This is dropping on Wednesday, right?
Yeah,
New York. We're playing with Homeboy Sandman and the Pen Pals.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
it's good. It's gonna be a good show. It's a really cool venue. New Blue. Shout out to them. And then there'll be more. We got some cool like gigs in the pipeline for sure that you'll know about. So
definitely try to make it to Toronto if you can. We'd love to.
Yeah, we should. We definitely will. We will try to avoid that deep winter.
In the queue.
Avoid the deep winter. I feel like you've been there like quite a bit. You were there in October once. Maybe.
Well, it was fall. It's always fallish or winter.
Yeah. So I'm gonna get on your man Kills maybe to get us out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, someplace nice and cushy.
Yeah.
Cushy. Yeah. With a Q.
So that's my story.
I'm sticking to it.
Castro, what about you? This is solo record you're working on?
Yeah, don't worry about that. That's gonna take a second. But that's gonna take a second. This is where we focused on 2 fronts. So I'm working on my solo, and then I'm really intensely. We got some really interesting ShrapKnel projects on the horizon, and so working on that. Call Out Culture is still up and running.
Yeah,
go check it out. We've having some pretty interesting episodes recently. There's a lot from the line of notes about this record here. We also did a new metal tournament. We also did. I'm trying to think.
Were you on that, Castro?
Yeah, I was. Unfortunately, yeah. You could tell like I'm enthusiastic for like the first 1/3, and then you could just tell I'm just like mailing in some answers at a certain point. I was just destroying myself, but it was fun. Some stuff I remembered, but some stuff I just did not. I never heard before in my life.
Alaska and Z, Z enjoys it too much, man.
He's having the time of his life. He's giggling and laughing like a little schoolgirl.
If he got like the bag, if he got the bag, he'd leave hip hop alone.
That's all he would do. Yeah, he would just do those soft rock, yacht rock, wine mom rock, whatever he loves.
Wine mom rock. I never heard of that before.
Yeah, there's a wine mom.
You should listen to the wine mom one because Jesse's like the unsung hero.
No, Jesse's so good.
He's like the best guest for those tournaments.
Oh yeah, the thing is he's so quick and he's so consistent. So it's like it's like the perfect combo.
Really, there's a sincerity too. Like he just like he loves stuff. It's great.
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out Jesse the Tree.
But so unfortunately, my podcast is known for some horrible tournaments, I would say. But we have some other interesting.
But man, the ratings don't lie, right? People listen to that shit.
Yes, sometimes I don't.
And it's fun. It's fun.
It's whatever.
You're having fun.
For up to you
again to remind people that most of these tournaments happen while I'm on tour and away from my console.
You would,
that's why it's funny. They always do it when you're gone.
They know better. They know righteously.
If you had it your way, you'd go 2 hours on OGC's albums.
On Empire Strikes Back, 2.5 hour retro,
and the many Scaramanga aliases. You'd have a tournament. You'd have a tournament of Scaramanga aliases.
And I'm putting this in the air. I've been on a hunt to try to find El Fudge's contact information.
What are you talking about?
You know,
I could guess. I fucking know Fudge.
You didn't even ask fucking Fudge.
I didn't. Yes, I could get a hold of Fudge. Yes, easily. Not maybe not easily,
I'm
but
trying to get him on the joint. I was listening to the show by gratitude.
So El Fudge used to come to my job in Harlem, and there was we had a grilled cheese on the menu, and he would get it, but he would take one. It was 3 types of cheese, but he wanted like no cheddar, double Gruyere. That was his order. So shout out Fudge. But someone goes, do you know Fudge? And I'm like, no. And he's just like, oh, what's up, man? Like his real name, dap me up, and they're like, Fudge used Mark, like because everyone knows me as Mark. It's like Mark raps, and he's just like, oh, that's what's up. That's what's up. He's like, yeah, I used to rhyme. And his boy was like, man, he used to really do it. And I'm like, what was your stage name? And he goes, El Fudge. And I'm like, are you fucking, bro? I'm like, show me your gratitude. And he was like, yo, really? And like, he was really appreciative. I never got his info, or maybe I do, but I do know who hangs with him. So we'll get El Fudge for you. Super nice guy. Super nice guy.
Yeah, no, I was digging. This is a long story, but I'll make it short. So Fat Boy Sharif came over to the crib, and so I had to rearrange my vinyl setup. And in doing so, we pulled out the El Fudge.
Boom! Now I got El Fudge's number right here, bro.
There it is. Wow. We're gonna do that. And so I went and found that El Fudge interview from a year ago.
I'm hitting him up.
Mainly talking about the single, and I'm looking at the single, and I'm sitting on my couch. I'm like, oh, let me listen to it. And I'm watching him do the interview, and I'm listening to the songs. I'm like, oh, we should get him on Call Out Culture. And there you go.
I mean, based on my interactions with him, granted, these are a while back.
Yeah, if
he would be down. He would be down.
Yeah, he didn't. He was the interview I saw him was doing it from his car, so that shows some dedication. I would definitely want it.
Random rappers used to pull up. Like here came by, just like just hanging out and stuff.
And those are some of our best episodes.
Subcon was there one time too.
Oh, Subcon came through the spot. You want to hit him up to get him on something? You think he still raps? He still raps?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Now I know him
based on what I.
Yeah, no, I know Subcon. I know his real name and everything like that. We went to college together, so I've known him for like long time. But I wanted to get him on some shrapknel shit. So if he's listening, reach out to us if you still rapping, Sub.
I'll hit
homie Castro. You know my real name. Went to Temple together. I want you on something, God. For real. Yeah. All right.
Love it, man. 7, what about you?
Nothing specific at the moment. I do have a bunch of songs that I've been picking away at.
He's hoarding this incredible Quelle Chris song. He has a certain problem. I'm gonna hit him upside
his beat set in Brooklyn was nuts.
Thank you.
I don't know what that is.
Shame on you, 7. Shame. He has this crazy Quelle song.
But what was the problem with it? You said a certain problem with it?
that I'm holding on to it. Probably is that the problem?
He's a maniac. That's the problem.
Oh,
He's a maniac.
I mean, I think it is a really good song. And I just don't want to like waste it, like putting it out in the wrong way. So I've been trying to build something up. When it's not like a one group album or one artist album, it's kind of hard sometimes to piece together different, like a producer type thing. So I've been trying to like,
I'm putting the pressure on you, yo.
Trying to think of well, the funny thing is, so when I was in Brooklyn, I was staying with my friend Scott, and I have most of the demos on my phone. So I played them for him, and he was like, dude, just put this out. Like, it's pretty much ready. So I got to work on it and figure it, but that will probably be my focus. I don't know exactly how, but I will try to do that. The way it's kind of worked for me lately is I work like in twos. Like I did this Mestizo record and a Buck 65 record kind of around the same time. And then I did Video Dave and ShrapKnel around the same time. So ideally I do like doing two, because when one slows down, I can usually go to the other one and they bounce off of each other. So it's the usual pattern. Like I'll like be really busy with something and then I'll have a time in between. So hopefully I figure out what the next thing is, but I do have some songs that I really just need to do something. Like I've got a Wood song that's like 3 years old now. Quelle one's like 2 years old.
The fuck?
But I just want to do the right thing with them. It was kind of like a big step for me to play them for everyone in Brooklyn, just to like put it out there in the world. But then it also was good because I realized like I got to do something with this.
Yeah.
So nothing super specific, but I always try to stay busy.
I'm excited for that. Definitely release those, but I get what you mean. Like you want to put it out the right way, but
yeah,
at some point, love to hear that. But yeah, I mean, I just have to say this album is fucking like so damn good. Feels like the crowning achievement, honestly, for Shrapnel, the two of you, but then like Controller 7, the work you did on the boards is just like unbelievable. I really feel also, as we were talking about all these like different references and like paying homage to like different people, I think this is one of the only albums I can remember listening to in a long time that like reminds me about the value of like paying homage to like the culture and the lineage. Because like as this conversation has gone, we're just talking about so many different artists that would not be part of this conversation had you not, and it just feels really special the way you made those connections, bridge those gaps. So
I want to say that I think one of the greatest accomplishments of being referential for this record is we did a really good campaign for this record. And to me, that harkened back to how campaigns used to be run. You know what I mean? We sent out, some street team merch in the physical form. People did what they did with that. We had a lot of teaser videos and lead-ins and videos before the release, videos on the release. We have a documentary floating around there. So I think it just harkens back to how much you used to get from an artist when it was release time. You could tell how much attention and care was put into it, and we did put a lot of attention and craft into it. And so, yeah, I think we were, bringing up, this was like an OGC Magnum Force release. You know what I'm saying? You got postcard in the mail. You know what I'm saying? You got a little CD-ROM with Buckshot on there, Drew High telling you do something. This time it was Anton and Woods, saying hold tight, vinyl coming. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I appreciate that we did it that way. I like that.
Yeah. And shout out to Controller 7. He put a lot of work in on that front. So, yeah, you got to think of interesting ways to promote the record. The same old shit is, tired or whatever.
How many times we skinning this
and
cat?
The Alcoholics back in the day gave barf bags with their vinyl, and you're not going to top that.
They had beer koozies too. I remember seeing that.
Yeah,
that's awesome. That's awesome.
So you got to constantly innovate, keep up with Tash, and then.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's always a pleasure to chat with you guys. Keep me in the loop when you're coming to Toronto. Love to see you again. Definitely. Always appreciate it, and appreciate the time generally. Really
You got
happy
it,
to see you guys get the acclaim and get the love because it's well deserved.
Word up.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
we're gonna keep
Appreciate
it rocking.
you. Yes,
If you
sir.
ain't got the record, get the record.
Get that
If
record.
you got the record, get another copy. And stream the hell out of it. Play it while you're going to sleep. Play it for your pets.
Put it
while you're at work.
on. Put your friend on it. Your friend's never gonna forget you for that kind
You
of
know what I'm
care.
saying?
Kind of
Play it for
kindness.
your pets. Play it. Put it on your fridge. People got smart refrigerators. Put it on your fridge so it plays when you open the fridge.
Yo,
Put it on
damn,
your
that's creative.
Alexa.
Plants?
Put it on.
Plants?
Do people have plants? Yeah, there's things they play music for their plants. Put it on that. There's
Plants
these
can
lights.
hear us.
There's
Yeah,
lights that change color and there's sound associated with. Program it into them damn lights.
Yeah.
You can do it with your app. Put it on your smart TV. Put the screensaver and all that stuff. And
Link it to your alarm. Wake up to Dadaism.
come on, man. Sleep in the Worry Doll shirts. They'll be shipping soon. You know what I'm saying? Wake up in them. Put them in your bathroom. Scare your little sister with them. Do everything.
The alarm as like the beat switch right when Castro's verse starts on Uru Metal would be that would be a crazy way to wake up. That would scare the shit out of me.
Yo, that old time alarm that used to come into my dreams sometimes. Remember that one? One time I was at a building and I was like, nobody was letting me in. I was like, and it was that big block. Y'all know that block clock that you block clock I call it that you got in college. Yeah. And it came right in my dream and woke my ass up. Yeah, I was annoyed.
All right,
DHL truck's outside. All right, DHL truck outside. What could that be? Maybe it's test presses.
Peace.
All right,
peace.
Thank you.
Peace, guys.
Bye.
Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye. So there we have it. Another episode of the Rap Music Plug podcast presented by QLC TV. I hope this episode gave you some new perspectives and insights into what the greatest art form known to man in hip-hop music has to offer. If you want to support the show in the most meaningful way possible, it would be my absolute honor to have you as a patron in the new Rap Music Plug podcast Patreon. Through this Patreon, you will be getting exclusive content such as bonus episodes, exclusive album recommendations, exclusive playlists, early access to episodes, and more. And above all, though, you will be able to support the show directly in a way that will not only justify the crazy amount of time I spend on this show already, but allow me to cover some of the expenses related to supporting all of these great artists that we cover on the show through the website, and will allow us to sustain and build on this amazing growth that the RMPP has experienced recently. So if you have any questions about any of the Patreon stuff, or just want to keep tabs on the show, interact with me on rap music and all the great stuff that we can talk about, follow me on Twitter and Instagram at rapmusicplugpod, or shoot me an email at qlctv.podcast@gmail.com. You can also rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts and subscribe on YouTube and Spotify as well. But that's enough self-promotion for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Peace.